yeah, I've spent some time thinking. I can't really decide on where I want this podcast to go, what the name should be. Turns out Plastic Pushers is a rollerblade like social brand, not just the name of an edit. So like, I don't feel comfortable taking that from them in any way. So welcome to my second podcast episode of whatever the hell this is. Having a hard time deciding on topics as well, besides just the name. And a pretty easy one for me is going to be just talking about climbing equipment in some ways, mostly shoes, because I've been very particular about that. So I kind of just took some time to kind of write down a list here of all the shoes I've ever worn in sort of in order. See how it goes. First thing I want to talk about is that I tell a lot of people that I started climbing after college, which is mostly true. Mostly true. I dedicated myself to climbing after college. That said, I had some experience in high school and college because I knew about it. I would go occasionally, but it was not my main sport by any means, so I never really counted that as rock climbing. Knowing more as I do now, you could argue that I started climbing in 8th grade, so to speak, but I went like twice in 8th grade. Up to you. That said, at some point in high school, my dad got me my own climbing gear. I was super excited because I thought climbing was going to be my big thing. It wasn't. Running was my big thing. I was a stupid kid, right? First pair of shoes I ever got were from either REI or the Upper Limits in St. Louis. They were Evolve Defies. I'm sure they were way too big. I remember saving up a bunch of money in like senior year or maybe sophomore year of college, going to Upper Limits and buying some red chili Matadors. I know for a fact you can't get those at a REI. I don't think REI's ever sold red chili. But I got those. For some reason, Upper Limits had a big red chili presence. So I got some Matadors. They were black and red with Velcro. I thought they looked cool. They were probably still too big of a size. I didn't really know much about rock climbing back then. Again, that was kind of before I started climbing, right? As soon as I started climbing, my Matadors had probably taken enough of a beating after a little while that I pretty quickly upgraded to Solutions, La Sportiva Solutions, like everyone else at the time was wearing in the group that I was a part of. Austin Rock Gym, Team ARG, shout out. They had an adult team. It's complicated. After those, I moved to Seattle, tried to pick up running again. After picking up running for a little bit and then dropping it, I got myself a new pair of climbing shoes because my old ones had developed a hole in the toe. I'm going to warn everyone who's like really big on resoling. I'm really bad at resoling shoes because I either wear them out all the way through or I just don't have the motivation. I'll talk about that in a little bit here because it kind of plays into this story. But after so the new shoes I got were Shamans. I don't remember if I said that already. They were fine. Evolves have never fit my foot well, now that I know what I'm talking about. But back then I thought they were great. They were fine. They were the old like blue and orange ones before like they redid the shoe, you know, so it kind of looked like an Evolve Defy but slightly more downturned and asymmetrical. I don't think that shoe ever looked cool. Some people really like them. Kind of dinky. Also not a big fan of Denver Broncos. But here I am, in Denver. It's snowy again outside, I just don't have the window open. After that, I remember I went to the like small gear shop in Seattle where I was living at the time, which had some climbing gear, but it was mostly like a ski shop, from my understanding, ski and hiking, outdoor stuff. And I got a pair of Scarpa Boostix they had as a demo shoe, so they were cheaper. I'd say that was my first like real shoe aside from the Solutions. That one fit a little bit better, it was a little bit tighter. Still not quite there. I remember having a lot of problems with like heel hooks still. I eventually moved to Austin again. There I think I started buying Lospo Solutions in the low volume from REI. I think this was the time where I was living in my van. I wasn't making any money. I think I was making $8,000 or $9,000 a year, and so I was being pardon my French, but like a fuckwad and returning my shoes to REI and telling them they didn't fit when I like burned through them. Really taking advantage of that return policy. Don't feel very good about that one now as much. I only did it like twice, but still, like you look back on it, it's just not something you should have done. But you were young and you were poor and you were an idiot, so it's something you did. Gotta own it, right? Anyway, these were the low volume versions, so I got the pink ones. I think I saw like Glassberg in them or someone, and it was just like, oh yeah, all the hard rock climbers were the small ones. But in reality, those fit my foot better. It's just the heel still was. Sportiva still just doesn't fit me quite right. The toe on the low volume is so narrow that it's just not comfortable to wear that one at the appropriate size for my heel. And then if I wear the appropriate toe from like the normal men's solutions, or the high volume solutions I like to call them, the heel is just a sloppy mess. Plus that heel sucks. I'm not a big fan of the golf ball. I remember at some point, the team I was working for at that point, I moved back to Austin to start coaching for the first time ever, and I was coaching for Team ATX, which was the ARG team that, long story. They have a Mad Rock sponsorship, or they had, I don't know if they're still a organization. And so I got some shorts for free, and those didn't fit so great either. I don't know, I was still just kind of a mess, and I didn't really understand climbing still at that time, even though I was coaching it. I remember continuing to climb in like solutions. I got some squamas at one point from an REI, or no, I think they were at a climbing gym in Houston. I think Inspire Rock in Houston. I think I got some squamas that they had in because no one could find squamas because they had like some customs issue getting into America. I tried them out. I think I had the same problem. Like the heel is better on that one, I think, than on the solution, by like a lot, because it's not like a golf ball. This is the old golf ball heel, or tennis ball heel, whatever you want to call it. The Squama had a better heel, but like I don't think the shape of the shoe still fit me in any way. I eventually tried high angles on, and that was the first time I ever realized like how to heel hook properly, because I could actually feel the heel hooks in that shoe. I think the men's high angles were probably the best shoe I've ever worn. I got them when they were like on sale in the Smurf feet ones, kind of when like you still had the 510 Pro Deal website to go through before like it integrated into the Adidas Terex bullshit. Those are great shoes. I think I did my first ever nationals in those. I learned a lot climbing in high angles, like a lot. I kind of wish they'd come back. I hear the new ones are quite good still. The white ones. However, I haven't had a chance to try them. I earned a free pair of the High Angle Pro, which is a little bit more closer to a team in terms of like softness, so I've not really enjoyed those. I didn't put that on my list. Thank you for reminding me, podcast. But continuing on, after the High Angles, I think I tried some Futuras at one point from an REI. I was still kind of being a shithead about it all. I'm sure I returned those, but that's just because they really just didn't fit my foot, and I really didn't understand them because my footwork was sloppy. I remember distinctly that the High Angles and the Squama were together, by the way, because I did my first 13A wearing one High Angle and one Squama because coincidentally the opposite foot's toe had blown out on the other shoe, so I still had like two good shoes essentially. That 13A was in Reimers Ranch near Austin, Texas. I was not much of a sport climber. It was 5 clips long, and I nearly pumped out on the glory jugs. I think it's called bulimia. Might not be 13A anymore. Who knows? Might not exist anymore. Part of the walls, they're like falling apart. After the Futuras, I met a friend, Connor Larson. Any of you who know Corn Dog will know that he is a Scarpa, Big Agnes, all this type of stuff rep, or at least he was. I don't know what he's up to these days. Maybe I should check in on Corn Dog. But he was a rep for Scarpa, and I was living in the same parking lot as him in our vans, and like we became friends, and he gave me a discount, and he offered me, like a grassroots deal and stuff like that. And that was back in my like prove yourself era, so I really wanted performance shoes. So I got a pair of the old like green and black, or I guess black and green strapped Furias before they like reworked them. I quite like those. I think I climbed my first V10 in those. It's been downgraded to V9, but I still count it as my first V10. Tailpipe in Gateway Canyon, Red Rocks, Las Vegas. Fun climb. Probably V9. I don't know. I barely remember it. I just remember that awful heel-toe cam you do at the start. After that, I got some instincts. The gym that I was working at I moved to Colorado shortly after meeting Connor. And the gym I was working at, Evo Rock and Fitness, RIP, no longer exists, now part of the Spot. Not that it really needs the rest in pepperonis or peace. It was kind of a shit show. They had a Scarpa deal, so I started trying Scarpa shoes out. I got instincts thinking they'd be like Solutions, and it turns out that neither of those shoes, even though they're built on a similar last, fits my foot because they're built on a similar last, and that last is not for my foot shape. For reference, I'm not going to show you my feet because this isn't that kind of podcast. I would actually ask you to pay for that. I've got a relatively narrow heel, a high arch, and like a wide forefoot. I call it a duck foot. I think I have a Greek toe set. I just realized recently that that's like a thing. Like the way your toes are shaped is like Greek, Roman, Egyptian, stuff like that. I don't know. It's like noses. That doesn't really matter in my opinion. I think it's more in this case about the ball of the foot width compared to the heel width compared to just which of your first two toes is bigger than the other. That kind of changes some things. Yeah. So I was on the Scarpa Instincts. I got some 510 moccasins after that to help with forerunning, speed climbing, and trad climbing, which was things that I was just like starting to learn more and more about in Colorado because you're in Colorado. And they were cheap. You still had good 510 Pro deals. I kept going with Scarpa for my like performance shoes though for a bit there, so I tried some Dragos on. I think that's what they are. Dragons? No, Dragons is a 510 shoe. Dragos. I think it's the same last as the Instinct, so again, just doesn't fit my foot at all. But I tried, and I couldn't do heel hooks well, but I could toe down on stuff, and I could smear and volume, and yeah, they were fine. I also tried some Magos on because I thought maybe laces were the solution to all my problems. The new Magos, the green and blue ones, because I know a lot of people really liked the older ones. I think they were that's an Instinct. I don't remember what the old ones were, but they were like a cult classic. And I tried them on, and I think again they're on the same last, so it is pointless for me to keep trying Scarpas at this point. I think I do stop after the Mago. I actually have those. I think I spent maybe 3 sessions on them. If anyone wants to buy them, please hit me up. I have plenty of shoes that I haven't fully used by any means. I'd be happy to sell at discounts. Yeah, I got those before they were released in America, though. That was kind of cool. It felt kind of badass, especially in still in the midst of my prove yourself era, so to speak. Maybe we'll do another podcast on the prove yourself part. That's probably a good one. But let's keep talking shoes. After that, I think I went back to the high angle. I eventually tried the high angle low volume, but I think slightly before I tried the low volume, I tried the green teams, the MI6 rubber ones. And I really loved that shoe, even though it didn't fit my foot. The toe is great for me. It worked super duper well. The problem is that shoe is literally a rubber sock. And while I have a strong foot from running and from rock climbing so much and just being athletic in general, it just doesn't help when you're climbing outside in Colorado. It can work inside. It was great at Movement Rhino and gyms where it's all compy and slabby and volumes and all that. But like it couldn't heel hook well. The heel slipped off a lot. I remember putting the heel back on several sport climbs with it. Like while resting, like just pull on the heel and put it back on. The low volume high angle was better. I think it fit my foot a little bit better, but was just a little too narrow in the toe. So I think I just needed to downsize my high angles more. I never got to downsize them as much as I probably should have. And that's okay. That's fine. After that, I started working at the Denver Bouldering Club and the Boulder Rock Club because Evo let me go. Or rather, long story there. Not going to talk about it. I left Evo and started working at those. I was coaching at the DBC, sitting at the BRC, very confusing, talking to people about it. I was trying the teams on. I was climbing hard climbs. But I was also trying unparalleled leopards at the same time. Actually, I think the leopards came before the teams. Yeah, I think so. So then I tried unparalleled leopards. People were telling me it was, the new 510. Now that 510 sucked and Adidas bought them, which, Adidas isn't investing in them in 510 as much. But they are putting work in. I don't know. I'm not going to judge them too harshly. I just don't like their new products as much. Again, if the new 510 wants to send me a pair of the new white high angles, I'll gladly accept them, but I'm not buying them. Mostly because I don't have any money and I can't get a pro deal right now, I don't think. The leopards were great. They fit my foot super well. Like, oh my gosh. The leopards are, an amazing last for my foot. I think I could wear that shoe for a very long time. The problem is they last about 4 or 5 weeks. Now, I don't know what you guys know about running shoes, okay? But running shoes should last about 400 to 500 miles. And in college, I was running 100 miles plus a week. And so technically, I should be recycling shoes every 5 or so weeks. I made them work for 8 to 10 often, just because I couldn't afford that. But running shoes, you can get the mileage in as long as it's not destroying your knees. Climbing shoes, if they literally develop a hole in the toe, and I'm not talking, your classic newer climber doesn't know much, drags the toe a lot, slips down the wall to set their foot. I'm not talking about one here. I'm talking about one underneath your toe where you're pulling and pushing and standing on things with it. If that happens on 2 different pairs of shoes and you make climbing gym workers salary, that doesn't really work. So this is where resoling could have worked, but it never did. I forgot about that story. So back when I first started working in solutions, but the low volume ones, so I was still starting to coach, I met a guy in Houston. He was doing a resoling company thing. I sent him some. I had a bad experience where the shoes got lost, and so I just couldn't get my money back in any way. And so I just didn't have climbing shoes, and I had paid for this thing, and it sucked. That's kind of one thing that put me off to it. Also, these days I actually haven't worn through a pair of shoes in a long time, aside from, again, making this part of the toe really, really soft and sensitive. And that's okay with a lot of the shoes I have. With pro deals and whatnot, it's often just as cheap for me to do that. So maybe resolers need to figure out something for a pro deal, and maybe that's something I already just don't know about because I haven't sought it out. I don't know. Yeah, so those were the leopards. The teams came slightly after those. I actually really liked the black teams. The biggest problem with black teams is that, again, it's a very soft shoe. It's not as soft as the green teams by any means, but it's a pretty soft shoe, bad at heel hooks. Not the best all-rounder, and that's kind of what I'm looking for in a shoe, I think. I don't mind the whole quiver idea, but I really want to limit it to 2 shoes. And in reality, a high angle can do almost anything the teams can do. And they're leather, which I like a lot more. I miss the old leather high angles. I wish people would make leather shoes again. I know it's not a popular opinion. After that, I started working with Unparalleled a little bit. I did some reviews for them. I got some shoes for free. I tried their Sirius next, just in the normal lace version, blue, purple, whatever color it is. Those things were sweet. I've had multiple pairs since. Great shoe. Makes me wish I had ever gotten a chance to try 510 Dragons. I didn't, which is a bummer. But I love that shoe. Biggest complaint is that when they break in and get soft, they get real soft. It's like Black Team's version of soft. So if I wasn't living in Colorado and somewhere with like sandstone, I'd probably just wear that shoe exclusively. I guess my other issue is that the laces on that are great, but they go so far down that it can be hard to do some like more techie heel hooks without getting on the lace itself. Also, just having laces kind of sucks, you know? I think most people know. I like Velcro. It's simple, it's easy. I'm a kindergartner at heart. Yeah, but I really like that shoe. For a long time there, if you had put a gun to my head and said pick one shoe for the rest of your life, I would have said, all right, Unparallel Serious Laces. Let's go. I did try some more Unparallels. I tried the Uprise. I tried the Uprise Zero. Didn't really like either of those. They don't fit my foot very well. They've got a weird opening that's like too open. Doesn't suck the foot in. With climbing shoes, what I've decided I really like, and this applies for my rollerblades as well, is I like a shoe that just feels like it's my foot. I don't want any slop, anything like that. I don't want to downsize to the point of like unbearableness. I don't mind it for like a few sessions as they're breaking in, but like I don't want it to move around too much once it's broken in. Yeah, so those didn't really work out. The Uprise Vim I tried. Too large of a size, but that's a great shoe. You could do almost everything in that shoe as well. If I had more money and more time, I would spend more effort trying to size that shoe correctly. Biggest complaint with Unparallel is I have to just order the shoes and pray it's the right size. But I've put a lot of money and time into it to try and find a shoe that like works for me. Vim, great shoe. Would love it if they just made a version with a Velcro strap. Like just take that shoe. I know it's supposed to be the 510 V10 or whatever the hell it was, and that was a slipper. But like, just put a Velcro strap on that shoe. It's the best shoe you've ever made. Good softness, good stiffness, great color. I mean, not great, fine color. Good shoe. I think very functional. I tried the Unparalleled Regulus Low Volume. That's their high angle. The low volume one worked decently well, but it pinched my like ankle right below that bone on your ankle. I don't remember the name of it. In like a weird way, so it wasn't super fun to wear all the time, but it was a really good performing shoe once it broke in. Oh my gosh, the softness was like, it was a high angle, you know? It did feel a little bit more cardboardy than a high angle when it was broken in, probably because it didn't have the like leather and time and effort and everything, but like it was pretty damn close. That was a good shoe. Now this is where I'm starting to forget what shoes I had, what I've tried on, all that, because this is when I start like really soul searching for shoes. But I don't go through a ton. I just don't remember if there was anything between that Regulus and these drones. There were probably more repeats of things I had already tried, right? But the next shoe I tried was the Drone and the Drone LV. I think I found out that I like the Drone, not the low volume version. It fits my foot better. I think it's like a size 9 or so. Breaks in pretty good. My biggest complaint with Mad Rocks is the quality. I've had toes delaminating. I've ripped the pull tabs off the back. It's a good shoe, but like, man, it reminds me of like old 510 when I was originally trying high angles on. Those pull tabs would be a little sensitive sometimes. The drones felt cheap compared to those even. When I say old 510, it's not old 510. You guys have been climbing way longer than me. I don't know old 510. I'm talking 510 back in 2016, 2017. So I tried the drones. I like the drones. They're a great shoe for Colorado. I kind of don't like that little heel bump, but I can see it being used. They don't fit my foot as well, and they break. So it's just not worth the money, the effort, the time, all that. For a little bit there, though, I think I liked them more than the Serious Lace. Just something to keep in mind. probably just given the circumstances I'm in. Again, I think if I was in like Sandstone, Southeast, France, wherever, I'd probably want that serious lace over the drones more. I got a chance to try some red lines on. Shout out to my friend Alex McIntyre. He hooked me up with a pair. He's a sponsored athlete and didn't want them anymore, so he hooked him up with a pair. I just paid him like $20 for shipping or something like that and a burrito. He was just going to give them to me for free for the shipping, but yeah, I hooked the homies up. And that shoe fit me really well. Like, I was quite impressed. I think the toe is a slightly wider, or maybe it's the heel. I forget which. Something is slightly wider than the drone, and that shoe fits me a lot better than the drone. If it was the same stiffness as the drone, I think I would have picked that as my daily rider. But yeah, it just, or daily driver. But it's just, they're so good for like 2 weeks, and then once you've broken in a new pair, it's just way too soft in some ways. It's like 5'10" team soft, which again is good. It's just, I don't know, something about climbing has made me mature to realize that like you just want an all-rounder. Again, I don't like that whole quiver idea, so to speak. After my brief Mad Rock stint, that was actually this past year, 2021. I think I started in like the spring and then continued through part of the fall, winter. I've kind of started to transition back into the unparalleled side of things. I think they just make the best rubber and they make the shoes that fit me the best, and I like supporting a smaller company that makes shoes that don't feel like they're going to fall apart all the time. I tried the Lyra, which fit me. I maybe could have gone a half size down, but my biggest issue is that the way that closure system works on the Lyra, wish I still had mine in front of me. I have them in a closet, but I'm not going to go grab them now. I didn't plan this out very much. I just got off work, and I'm just talking to you. The Lyra has this closure system. It's like a little, almost solution thing. I don't know. It's different. Look at it online. You can find it. Unparalleled Lyra. It's blue and yellow. It's an obnoxious colored shoe. Kind of cool, but obnoxious. The way it closes over my foot, it's similar to that like Uprise Zero and Uprise shoe feeling. And so, like, by the way, the reason I tried those Uprise and Uprise Zero is because they were leather. I will buy a leather shoe that is performance if someone starts making it. Contact me, shoe companies. But getting back to the Lyra, the shoe closer. Oh my gosh, you pull it and you get it tight, but then it sticks out past your heel a little bit. I have slipped off of heel hooks. I have undone my shoe because it got that thing. Shoe companies need to know that, like, your Velcro, when the shoe is sized correctly for the climber, not when it's incorrectly, but when it is sized correctly, and maybe I could have sized down, I don't know, but when it is sized correctly, and they have pulled it tight as they want it, that Velcro strap should not go past it. So what I did was I tried to do a home remedy, and I cut it, and then, took flame to it, sealed off the plastic end, and then I couldn't actually start the pull enough to get it as tight as I wanted. So it was like I didn't cut off much, maybe an inch, probably less, probably like half an inch, and it just still wasn't enough. It was very frustrating to me. I liked that shoe. Again, colors were obnoxious, but good, It was blue and yellow, gold yellow, not blue and orange. Learned something involved, just saying. After that, I tried the Flagship. I saw the potential in it. It didn't fit my foot shape at all. They eventually released the low volume Flagship. I got a pair. I like them. I need them in a half size smaller, most likely. I think I got them in a 9.5. I need them in or the equivalent of a 9.5. They're in women's sizing. I need them in a men's 9. It's just what I need. Wouldn't work otherwise. I tried those on though. That is another one that if I was only like gym climbing, I could see that being a daily driver. You could even take it outside. That's a pretty good all-rounder. I'd like to spend more time in one in the right size. But the problem is I tried on another pair of shoes of theirs and I really liked them. I really liked them. And that shoe is my currently daily driver. This is the Tomoe Narasaki Pro. It's in a size 9. if I recall correctly. Yeah, size 9, Mondo point 27.0. I believe my foot is a 10 and a half. It like lives right in that range. I think it's like 28.3 or 4 on my larger foot and 28.1 or 2 on my shorter foot in terms of millimeters or centimeters rather. So like a 10 and a half is kind of roomy, and an 11 is like nice and roomy for me. I think my street shoes are often 11, but I might start sizing them back down to 11 or 10 and a half. I kind of like that snugger feel these days. I just like slipping my heels on. I'm really lazy. But anyway, back to it. The Tomoe Narasaki Pro has been a great shoe. It heel hooks well. It toes down well. It's got a ton of rubber. Felt tight, but not impossible. It feels like once it's broken in, it's staying on my heel pretty well. I'm not dying while wearing it, but I'm not, not performing while wearing it. Great for Colorado. Great for competitions, I'm sure. I haven't taken it to like Rhino. I haven't done as much competition climbing. Again, I'm kind of out of that prove yourself thing, but I do enjoy that style. I just haven't had a ton of time for climbing. Between work, between my fingers hurting, things like that. But yeah, that's my shoe journey. I don't know of many podcasts doing anything like that. But if you know of people who have a foot type like mine, please direct them this way. I'm not asking you guys to like, subscribe, anything. Give this video a thumbs down for all I care. I'm just kind of producing content because I feel like I need to do it for rock climbing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast episode 2 of whatever the hell I named this podcast in the end. I think right now it's plastic pullers. I don't like that. Maybe it's where the rubber meets the hold. That just came to mind. I don't know what it is. This is just a podcast.